COVID-19 update report that I'm usually making about now is going to be late. But this is pretty important. I realize I haven't given you an overview of how things are going to shake out. And so I wanted to put this together just now for Ingrid. And so I want to share it with you. That's going to save time in the report later. You can just refer to this link that'll be posted right here. So last night at 3:03 a.m., then Ingrid wrote, it's very short. With lockdowns coming in 3 weeks, what is the possibility this happens? The Ingrid is the newest addition to the USA Survival Group program and to the Land Acquisition Committee that is trying to go full bore right now. And if you're on that committee, make sure that you get Caleb your information for getting the LLC paperwork going, because we're under time constraints right now based upon the way that things appear to be shaking out. And in the future, Ingrid, please send me, because you said this in 3 weeks. I did some searches and was unable to verify what you're saying. But if you send me the link, that gives me opportunity to do the keyword analysis and then the comparative analysis to other things that are happening. And without that information, it was difficult for me to verify what you're saying here. That timeline does not appear accurate based upon the predictive modeling that I have running. Okay, so let me just go through this. Thank you for writing. The COVID-19 Herald strain is spreading like wildfire right now in the general population, with a lagging effect following the second wave peak that came on August 17, 2020, due to the 30-day biological weapon incubation period. The general public is currently unaware and uninformed about how rapidly the virus is spreading, but eventually the elite-controlled media will break the news that the United States is in much greater trouble than previously realized. That is going to happen. The 3-week lockdown protocols, if true, will likely limit travel within the large cities along the U.S. East and West Coasts that filter to the smaller cities until coming together in the American heartland on the North American Craton. That's where I'm sitting right now. This is where the effect is going to come last. In the center part of the country, it's going to come from the East and West Coast, and it's going to come together like hands slapping together in the middle of this country. Polarization of the governors, left versus right, is intensifying, moving through this period with the authority handed to them by Trump and the feds to intensify travel restrictions that sees National Guard setting up checkpoints along state lines. That is going to happen. We can see how it was happening during the first wave. And that they've already done the training, the orientation, and they're ready for deployment right now in every state of this country. Mayors, local officials will initiate campaigns to restrict city travel for the peace and safety of the general public under their jurisdictions. You're going to see more and more of this polarization. The same left-right polarization you see after George Floyd is intensifying. Defunding of police is intensifying, in the left particularly. And the right is being told to mobilize against that movement, which is energizing the radicalization of both ends of the left-right paradigm that really doesn't exist in our country. The right and the left up on the higher echelons are all working together. They realize what's happening, and this is part of their fail-safe plan. The order will eventually pass down that only one member of each family be authorized to travel for family necessities to limit the spread of the virus. That's already happening in many places around the world. There's a chance that lockdown periods will be extended for the duration. There's a chance that when this lockdown comes, that we're going to be under lockdown for the duration. You have to be aware of that, even though I don't see that happening in 3 weeks. There's a chance that the lockdown periods will be extended for the duration. That's what I just said. As COVID-19 pandemic puppet masters utilize the feds, the governors, the mayors, the media for achieving total command control of the population so the elite can mobilize to their underground Ark City positions. Everyone with the resources is advised to relocate into real safe zones. You get that in your safe zone map when I do your threat assessment for those that subscribe to the Survival Group program. Real safe zones within the state of their Survival Group staging area properties, or risk being locked down within their home states where travel restrictions and lockdown protocols are expected to intensify after the anticipated October surprise event that will have repercussions for the global population. The more and more that is growing, that's becoming viral on the internet. It's becoming viral scream on the internet, pointing to what's coming as if the elite are telegraphing what their intentions are for what's coming soon. And then they can later say, well, we warned you what was happening. And whenever that happens, things are going to start happening very, very rapidly, and your options for neutralizing the threats are going to be reduced dramatically every day, every single day after this event that's coming. Current Black Star Super Plume COVID-19 pandemic modeling suggests COVID-19 mutagen that produces the monster recombinant strain will be released after the peak of the third wave, currently projected for November 17th, 2020. And because of the 30-day lag time, it's likely going to be beyond that, but we're going to be able to look back and see that the peak was on November the 17th at that backside alignment, where a large magnitude earthquake is projected to strike too. That's going to be the linchpin event for the elite, that they're using the same marker positions on their timeline that I'm using for the Project Black Star timeline. Pretty darn sure about that. We will know the mutagen has been released on the global population when reports of cytokine storm-related pneumonia deaths rise rapidly in the large cities and likely in the Far East nations. This is going to happen rapidly, and it's going to be for all ages. Like this Herald strain hits those with immunodeficiency disorders, the older populations. Whenever this happens, you're going to see it coming in the news, and it's going to affect children, it's going to affect teens, it's going to affect young adults, old, across the board equally. That's going to be the big change that we're looking for. First, you're going to see the cytokine storm-related pneumonia deaths. They're just going to go out of control. The hospital is going to be overloaded and inundated with people, and many are not going to make it to the hospital. They're going to die on the way to the hospital. This is going to kill them so quickly. Lungs literally fill up with fluid. It's the body's immune system reaction that kills you. For those that are on the weaker side with their weakened immune systems, they're strong enough so they have no symptoms from the Herald strain. But then whenever that recombinant strain, whenever the mutation strain gets into them and they get the recombination, it's likely going to have an avian element, bird flu in it, for which people on Earth simply do not have immunity. Okay, should the second half of the COVID-19 binary biological weapon not be released in the general population by late February 2021, then we have another orbit cycle under our belts, which at this point in the timeline seems unlikely. One of the reasons it seems unlikely is because their fingerprints of the elite are on the genome of this Herald strain. So scientists around the world are figuring that out. So if I was running threat assessment of the House of Rothschild, this Herald strain would not be released until a certain point to limit the amount of time that the investigators have to track it back to me. See what I'm saying there? There's every reason to believe that 2021 May is going to be the quote-unquote event following the October surprise event that's going to change the world in itself. But in May 2020, that's the focal point of the elite plan that's being executed in 93-day increments. The reports will escalate in northern Italy and Europe until reaching the U.S. East Coast, where New York and New Jersey will be in the crosshairs first, followed by Los Angeles and large cities along the U.S. West Coast. The reports will quickly include death rate increases by hemorrhagic fever, with disturbing images broadcast across the airwaves by the Rothschild-controlled media that transforms the global mindset and big city street environment from chaos, we're already seeing that now, to mayhem, to pandemonium in rapid order. Thing is, the incubation period of the mutant strain, the recombinant strain, is going to be 2 to 3 days. And the kill point is 5 to 7 days. So within a week, somebody that's walking around with no symptoms at all, and because they have the Herald strain, they contract the mutagen strain, the recombinant strain, and they're dead within 7 days. That's the way this works. Herald strain, almost nothing. Then the recombinant strain is the killer, it's the monster that comes later in the timeline. And we do not know how many super strains are going to evolve from that mutagen strain. There's going to be disturbing images you're not even going to believe what they're going to be showing. It's going to make people faint from fear of what they're seeing, afraid to even go out of their houses. The military will be activated to neutralize threats created by the COVID-19 pandemic puppeteers, executing their elite plan conceived long before any of us were born, which is described in great detail in the operations section of the Dakota Report, that connect 9/11 inside job to the COVID-19 pandemic and genocide described under the Project Black Star umbrella topic. Everybody should read the operations section of the Dakota Report. Millions of people will make attempts to break through the medical martial law barricades and escape the chaos growing out of control amid the large city populations, with human hordes raping, murdering, and pillaging in the rural areas of this once great nation in dog-eat-dog Mad Max fashion. The elite planned pandemonium events will represent the problem for which the elite already have the solution, which includes military, National Guard, and the militarized police using advanced technology, detection weapon devices, and weapons for neutralizing the threats they created for the general public's peace and safety. We appear to be moving through the calm before the coming storm with focus on the middle of October, moving to the middle of November, which is the peak of the third wave, and the anticipated event that changes the world. That's the next shoe to drop in this elite pandemic. Is they must have a 9/11 type event to transform what you see now, which has been relatively the same. The chaos in especially the left-leaning cities is growing. You can see reports of that every single day. The polarization of what's happening, that's out there. This is nothing compared to what's coming a little bit later in the timeline. And it's not going to be long before the radical right mobilizes, like the radical left has already mobilized. They're going to take law into their own hands. That's going to happen, and it's going to appear justified in what they're doing, but they're falling into the elite trap. That creates the environment to send in the military. That's exactly what they want you to do, and don't do it. Don't fall into the trap. Identify your threats, create your contingencies, and the biggest threat that's going to be coming to you, the one that's in our face, is the Herald strain of the biological weapon. But the next one is going to be your own governor, who is going to lock you down within the state, and then the mayor that's going to agree with the governor and take things into his hands or her hands and say, we need to protect people from coming from other cities, bringing the bug into our city. That is going to happen. So you can just monitor the news and watch as it goes from the feds, giving authority to the governors, giving authority to not actually giving authority, but acknowledging the authority to protect the general public for the peace and safety. That's going to be the key, the peace and safety. When you see that more and more and more, this is what we have to do. We hate to do it, but we have to do it for your own peace and safety. That's going to intensify along with that. And then the event that's coming, likely in the middle of October. And then after that, everything escalates very, very, very rapidly. So my transition here at the Ozarks took time. And that's what Caleb has been doing. And those of you, even on the committee, you can see how my first reports of him settling here before you get that paperwork together, you see it takes time. It really does. It takes time to adjust to what you're doing and securing your own safety. And then looking outside your environment, what you get settled, and then being able to reach outside of that to help other people. That's where the USA Survival Group, the Ozarks Survival Group program is right now. So we do have limited time. I highly, highly recommend, if you're inside the United States, that you come right down here and click this button and at least get your threat assessment information.